Well, I'm excited to be here. Oh my goodness. See, I've spent so much time uh, on social media checking out different places to go for 2023. And we were lucky to have San Antonio come in right around the holiday time. And I think the holiday time with cannabis is totally different than any other time of the year. So I'm going to let Rob over here start us off to tell us a little bit about where we are and what makes San Antonio so special to him.
How y'all doing? I'm Rob's Fall. Yeah, San Antonio cannabis. San Antonio's home. Moved to San Antonio in, I think I was 4th or 5th grade. Live Oak area, and grew up here. Made my mistakes here, became a man here, and finding my way here. So when it comes to San Antonio cannabis, San Antonio is not with the rest of the state of Texas. We are far behind the state of Texas as a whole. You know, when we're talking cannabis, whether it's CBD, underground, whatever it is, we are far behind cities like Houston, Austin. Even El Paso is starting to blow up a lot faster than us. But they also have the bigger names. You know, San Antonio doesn't have the bigger names. So, you know, for us, it's about working hard and remembering who taught us to work hard. I believe when I first spoke with Candy, you know, I mentioned my grandmother who's still out there selling flowers and tamales, you know. Those are the upbringings that taught us to, you know, work the way that we are. You know, my mother being an immigrant and, you know, everything that she's done for my family, getting her citizenship, serving in the Army, being a Yellow Rose of Texas. So, you know, those are the things that have taught us to work hard here in San Antonio. That's where we do and what pushes us.
Absolutely. I like how you said you make your mistakes here, you know, all of those different things growing up. And as we look back at our lives right now in this living moment, we're able to see just how important all of those mistakes were, because I think it landed us to where we are right now today.
100%.
Absolutely. I can remember getting in trouble for a lot of stuff that had to do with this plant. And so I was a kid during the war on drugs whole thing, the red pen, and you wear your red socks and
Say
all
no
of
to
that.
dope.
Yeah, no to dope. This is your brain
Dare
on
to be
drugs.
different.
Yeah, Dare, the
Yeah.
Dare program. Yes. And so all of the things that we challenged ourselves with during that time brought us all together, and that's something that's a common thread with all of us.
Absolutely. I know when I interviewed Rob and we picked the state to be the finale and so forth, the culture was there, you know, and speaking about his grandmother, and I felt, you know, Texas is doing it the right way. You know, they're representing our culture. So definitely wanted to make sure that we spotlighted that, especially with Texas being where we're at now. You know, we're doing things right and we're getting it.
The flavor, oh my God. The one thing that I can say about Texas is that the way we're consuming cannabis, you're getting a chance to try everything in different ways. And the microdose, I think we really got the microdosing down. And I'm excited about that because I've visited certain places and they have no idea about microdosing. It's just, here it is, flat out. And it'll end up sometimes having you on your back if you're not prepared for it. But I love the fact that when I got here, even today, the drinks, they were showing me how I could just try a little bit of this, a splash of that, and really get a chance to taste everything, but not be so overwhelmed, and understanding what that's like as far as your body and what's needed.
Yes, absolutely. So Texas is doing the whole edible industry a little differently. I know a lot of states, they have like packaging limits, and so you can only fit so many milligrams in the package to get out the door. Texas is a by weight dry basis, so we can have up to 0.3% Delta 9 THC in our edibles. So that basically means if you make an edible 100 grams, you can have 300 milligrams of THC in that edible. So whereas other states are 100 milligrams, I can have a product that's 300 and that's still compliant. So that's Texas is doing something a little different as far as the way that we get the medicine to the people and how we put the products out. Kind of allowing more freedom to kind of basically the public without having to go through and get a prescription, without having to go to a doctor. But if you know the places, if you know the companies and the people that are really putting the heart and soul into the work and doing it the best that they can, you can absolutely get those medicines.
I agree.
And for those of y'all who don't know, that is John, Chef Kush from All Dang Creations, master chef, mastermind behind a lot of ingredients from All Dang Creations.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Terrible with introductions.
Absolutely. And what's so wild about the things that you're creating with different textures and taste, not just about getting the high. The high is there, of course. The medicine is making changes, but I was very impressed with the different textures and the different colors. It didn't seem like I was just seeing a whole bunch of artificial stuff. I saw a lot of organic things in what you were creating.
Yes, thank you. That's part of the whole ideal. It's very principally to kind of do things as organic and as close to natural as possible that we can do, keeping all the artificials and synthetics out of our body. Because I know for me, I was an ADHD kid, and if I had a red or a purple popsicle, growing up, I was bouncing off the walls for 6 hours. So artificial dyes had a pretty big impact on my life. And so when I decided to start making these products, I knew from the get-go I didn't want to be using those products. This was something we were trying to create higher quality to give a better medicine to the people.
Absolutely. You know, for me, I have to go back to the seltzers and all the new products that are coming out on the line. It's an opportunity right now to create what you want to create. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing that's holding you back in the state of Texas if you decide that you want to be a product developer or if you want to white label something in this state. So tell me a little bit more about that. If someone wanted to come in and white label flour, white label pre-rolls, or even edibles, how would that work?
So for the edibles market, it's actually pretty easy to get in, even if you wanted to become a manufacturer. It's the license to become a manufacturer is only $150. So it's very low entry fee. If you wanted to start white labeling and have somebody manufacture it, then you can say you own a store and you want to put your store's label on it and put those into your individual packaging. They call that a retailer's license, and that's $100. So again, very, very low entry fee to get into the game. There's not a whole lot of regulatory body, unfortunately, at the moment to kind of police this. So there are a lot of people out there that are just in it to win it, going out there and getting the best product that they can find for the cheapest that they can get it for. And unfortunately, we see a lot of that on the streets. There's a lot of gas stations pushing edibles, head shops pushing edibles. That's kind of the unfortunate side of the Texas industry. Is there's that lack of regulation, and it is very low entry to get in. So there's no policing
My
body
thing
to
with
govern
that is definitely where I've met people as traveling from state to state is where would you buy your grandmother's medicine? At
Exactly.
the convenience store or, a well-known, wellness center or a well-known reputable brand. So definitely, I always think of our loved ones, where would you buy their product?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Me and John, we've done that in the past where we've done TikToks and asked each other, hey, what are your red flags for purchasing cannabis? If someone asks you, what should I not do? We've had those conversations. My biggest thing is always, if they can't show me, or if I look at the package and there isn't a QR code, that's a big red flag. And then if there is, and I scan it and it sends you to some contest win or something, a lot of them at these gas stations, it just, the QR code sends you to a contest, spin the wheel, and it's like, what kind of stuff is that? And I've had so many friends, they'll go to smoke shops and they'll be like, man, I had this gummy and it messed me up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, why'd you go to them? I always tell y'all, smoke shops right there, if they don't want to explain what they have, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them are in it just for the finances and what they'll get back from it. So it's really hard, for a lot of us that want to do it the right way to be able to push the products the right way for those things.
Well, speaking about the platform that we currently have in the state of Texas, and the entry level being as low as it is, absolutely there's going to be some bad actors out there. But what I'm excited about too is the fact that this allows for even playing field for all people to come on board and start their own product if they're interested in doing that, and doing the research to find the best products and how to set yourself up as a business partner, and making sure that you adapt to the culture in a way that the culture is there for you. And that's what I love about Texas, is that we are willing to work with people to make sure that they are getting where they're supposed to go. I don't think we're afraid of competition. We actually want good, healthy competition, because if the product base that we are creating throughout, whether it's my friends or myself, I want to make sure that we all represent our product base the best way. And so that's where we come into self-regulation and the education of the plant. And so I love the fact that you guys have done TikToks and things like that. You're always going to have some of the people out there that's not necessarily doing the right thing. I see that all the time in grocery stores. You see that all the time in car lots. There's always going to be that bad apple that kind of pushes the envelope. But it takes us coming together and making sure that we have medicine that we can be proud of for our family. Especially if you have someone that, like myself, my daughter's disabled, my father passed away of cancer, and so being able to get my family to understand what CBD and THC really means for us, and get the person that's standing back with their arms folded thinking, oh my God, why is she once again talking about CBD at the Christmas table? You just kind of have to still
passion.
Yeah, you still got to stay on it, because if not, the message gets lost. The message gets lost when people drive into a service station and no one knows what's on the counter. They're just picking something up and they have a bad experience. And so the message gets lost. So that's why we talk about it time and time again. So it can just be something that you understand. It's out there, it's available, and it's a product that will help you reevaluate and elevate your lifestyle. And so that's what's so important, I think, that this whole stance is in coming to San Antonio. So
with that message being lost, another thing we always get is you can do your best to tell people, hey, when you try this gummy, take a quarter of it, start with a quarter of it,
start small.
Start off with this, and then they get home and they don't listen to anything you said. Then they contact you and they're like, oh, I was messed up. That gummy did this and that. Well, what did you do? Well, I had the whole thing. Well, what did I tell you to do? And they'll get upset, or they'll say something that's like, you gotta listen to instructions, man. Like, I'm not telling you this because I think you're weak. I'm telling you this to make sure that you're taken care of properly.
Absolutely. I think the next product I want to come out with, I think it needs to come out with a baby knife. The little baby knife comes in the package so you can remember, cut that thing 4 or 6 ways, something, because they don't listen.
Yeah.
Rob, they do not listen. They come, and matter of fact, they may pop it in their mouth before they even get home. So by the time they arrive home, they're just like
already high.
Frozen.
Yeah, I've had grown men like that. They're like, oh, I was a smoker for so long. I'm like, edibles are not the same.
They're not.
Cut it, do a quarter to start. And
Yeah.
then they come back and it's like, well, the quarter didn't work. I said give it up to 3 hours. Like,
oh my goodness.
And that's always funny. I said, look, if it doesn't hit, do not take more.
Right.
Wait till the next day and try a higher dose. But do not try to take more right away. You're gonna mess yourself up. But, they don't listen, and at least we told you. You can go on from there.
Especially when they taste really, really good. Recently, I had someone call the store and they were like, this isn't working. Do you think I should bring it back? I said, do not get into your car, because you don't know if it's working yet. As soon as you turn that corner, it might pop off and start working. So just wait till tomorrow and we'll talk about it. Let's see.
Yeah.
And it's different for everyone. Everyone has a different endocannabinoid system. So definitely agree. start slow and give it time to work.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So.
As we we get into this discussion panel, I'd like John, Chef Kush, man, I'd like you to share with everyone what brought you, your history and what brought you into cannabis.
Oh yeah, sure, man. Um, Cannabis is kind of came into my life like most every other people in our age at that time. Um, my brother was 5 years older than me, and he was a teenager in high school, and it was part of the culture. And he introduced it to me, and at first I didn't really get it. I didn't see the appeal. And I gave it some time. I tried again the next day, and I felt it, and it was like the medicine was working. Like I was telling y'all earlier, I was an ADHD kid, so being on Ritalin and Adderall and all that stuff for a long time kind of messes with your brain chemistry. And when that medicine like actually hit and I felt it, it was like, oh, this is what the brain's supposed to feel like. This is how thoughts are supposed to like normally perpetuate. And from that moment on, I kind of knew like, all right, this is a good tool. There's a lot of utility here. There's a lot of benefit. And I kind of kept it to myself, and because there's obviously being in Texas a ton of stigma with that, being a teenager, and just like most of us, got in a lot of trouble in high school and even as an adult with the law, just trying to get our medicines. So we've gone through that, but the main thing that really kind of drew me into making edibles was that I was tired of the lack of consistency, lack of quality that was available, that was out on the market, that was out on the streets or being sold in stores. And I wanted to create something that could be reliable, consistent, and available to the people for a decent price. One of the biggest things that's been a driving factor for me has been my father. He's got degenerative disc disease,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's been a really long road of multiple surgeries and operations, and it's just it seems to be like a never-ending cycle. So my father's been on opiates for a really long time. So one of the biggest things that I've wanted to do was get him off of that with cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, finally, his doctor, with the whole national program, everybody getting off of methadone, all the doctors are trying to down-regulate these opiates. His doctor finally agreed to give him a prescription to get into the Texas Compassionate Use Program. So after all these years, my father is finally able to consume my edibles now legally, without fear of losing that other prescription, without fear of losing the way of life that he's been adjusted to for so long. So that's kind of like it's the big passion of knowing that there's another option. You don't have to be addicted to opiates to be able to function, to be able to get through your life, to get through your day. There's plant medicines are so much better. There's so much healthier options for you. That's really been my biggest driving factor. That kind of, when I'm laying awake at night, like, man, what am I doing this for? It's like, it's for the people. It's for the people that maybe they don't know, maybe they've never seen it, maybe they've been stuck with a ton of misinformation, like most of the Texans have been most of their life, and that's part of the big drive, is breaking that stigma and educating the community.
Absolutely.
With his story, what brought y'all to start the Smoke Currency Tour?
Well, for me, I was traveling across the country, speaking at different events, and I saw a lot of wonderful people meaning well, everything, great things happening in different states. But once we left the state, no one was communicating with each other, nothing. It just was silent after that. And what I realized was that because we weren't talking to each other, we didn't have the connection of being able to represent each other, give each other strength. Everything that was going right in one state, we could learn from that in another state. And why reinvent the wheel? And so I wanted to start the Smoke Currency Tours just so we could have a conversation and tying all the states together and understanding that we were not alone. We're not the first. We have the ability to learn from each other without being afraid. And eventually, I truly believe that as we tie all the states together with a green thread, time will catch up, legislation will catch up, and you will find that I'm going to say probably 90% of the country will move toward the wellness of this plant as the country decides to either uh, make this plant legal or stop prosecuting people for using the plant. And so that's a huge passion of mine. And so I wanted to make sure that we could talk to each other. And that's what the Smoke Currency Tour does. It allows people that may never use the plant, but they can go behind the scenes and see that this is an actual art, this is an actual science. The people that are creating all of these wonderful products, they are human beings that have the intelligence to create these products, and that it's not some secret, you know what I mean? And then removing the stigma. So all of those things were the reasons why we came up with the Smoke Currency Tour. And I just happened to start talking to Candy about it and other individuals about the tour, and people just came on board. And as they came on board, we were able to just branch out and kick off in the state of Michigan. Michigan was seed to sale. Then we went to New Jersey. New Jersey was legacy to legal. In that state, it was really, really cool because we were, shout out to the library, we were able to go and stand on the actual corners where people were selling cannabis in the black market. And those same people had applied for licenses and got approved, and now they are opening their stores. And so being able to tell their stories, being able to go into labs and tell how the certificate of analysis happens within the cannabis industry and all the science of cannabis. So there's so many different things that people don't understand. They think you plant a seed and this seed pops up and then you actually sell the flower. There's so much more to it. And I just wanted to show it. I wanted to show the world. And so that's why the Smoke Currency Tour came about. We're changing lives. I really am excited about it. We're actually starting to talk about pediatric cannabis. That is a silent word almost out there. People don't want to talk about pediatric cannabis, but yet and still across the country, there are a lot of children that uses cannabis for their medicine. And I think they deserve the right not only to talk about it, but to have their own specific medicine. There's pediatric toothpaste, there's pediatric medicines out there, mouthwash, soaps, all types of things for children. Why not pediatric cannabis instead of parents trying to go home and play a compound pharmacist to create medicine for their kids that may have epilepsy or autism? So there's so many different places that we can start to have the conversation, but nothing was happening across state lines, and I wanted it to happen across state lines. And then one of my final things is just how many people that are still incarcerated. And when we think about the people that are incarcerated based off of cannabis and the plant, we always think of men, and there's nothing wrong with that. Those people should be released. But there's a ton of women that are out there that have lost their years of being able to raise their children or even to have children. They've been sitting in a cell based off of a plant, based off of, some of them didn't even sell the plant. Some of them just happened to deposit money from their significant other into their account and got 7 to 10 years just for making a deposit into their account. And so all of those reasons, I said, I want to stop what I'm doing and go coast to coast and highlight the people that are in this industry, and let's shine a light on what we need to change and make better.
Nice, nice. And Candy, can you tell us a little bit about Courage in Cannabis and what brought you to the Smoke Currency Tour?
So Courage in Cannabis is an anthology. Book one has 18 authors, and then book 2 has 39 authors. And we all came together and shared our stories, making sure that the medical story was not forgotten. A lot of states have gone recreational, and patients seem to be set aside. We need to make sure that, people still know that, opiates and so forth we've got other remedies to use. And actually we want to make sure that cannabis isn't our last resort, as it was for so many of us that have struggled. So what we do is we make sure people are able to share their stories, whether it's a pediatric, an entrepreneur, a legacy story. We have physicians, attorneys, pediatric stories, and it's like chicken soup for the soul, but cannabis for the soul. So as we've traveled with the Smoke Currency Tour, we spotlighted the book, and we also are making sure that we take a list of new authors for the series. So we're always open to hear other stories and make sure that we share them with, on a national level. We've got authors from all over, all the way up to Canada, and we did get #1 bestseller, book 1, and then book 2 as well. So we were able to share their stories, and I mean, they're all sorts of stories. And then I met Thunder along the way, and I interviewed her because we definitely want to get her daughter's story in our book, and that's how we started.
Yeah, Pistol is the start to everything.
Yes.
Well, before we get into interviewing a lot of our team members, John, Chef Kush, is there any sort of knowledge or anything you want to share that you think is important for people to hear that they haven't yet or might not have?
I think I might have a heavy bomb to drop, dude.
Drop it.
Yeah, so there's one thing the Texas hemp industry is doing that I'm not with it. I don't like it. THCA flower. This is a thing that's being sold in gas stations, head shops, CBD stores. I'm not gonna go too heavy into the details. My understanding and in my experience is that this is it's either cannabis that's harvested early, it's immature, or it's premium hemp flower that's rolled in isolates. The issue I have with this is that this is the carrot on the stick. We're accepting that carrot instead of kicking that stick and going and grabbing the bushel for ourselves. This is the diet cannabis that is not, it's not the real deal. It's not as clean. A lot of these things, you don't have labs. There's no certificate of analysis. You can't track seed to sale. There's no, we don't have that governing body to regulate this either, unfortunately. With the Texas hemp industry, it's very specific that we're not allowed to manufacture smokable products within the state. So that kind of puts an ironclad boot down on us being able to sell our own flower. If we're growing here, we should be able to process it and use that as well. But for whatever reason, the law states very specifically that we cannot process or manufacture smokable in the state. So that means that all the flower that you're buying in the state is coming from elsewhere, which, okay, that's cool. I'm all for that, but we need to know that there's a consistent quality across the board. And that's my issues. I have people calling me up and telling me, yo, I got this flower at this head shop and I smoked a bowl and I was sick. Like, praying to the toilet gods for 4 hours, room spinning, puking my guts out, and then hung over for several days later. That's my issue with this. We're accepting a THCA carrot when we should be pushing for the full plant. We should just have smokable cannabis. That's my biggest thing I wanted to get out.
Appreciate you, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys.
At this time, we're going to go ahead and start bringing some of our team members up and hearing about their stories and why they got into cannabis, and also some of our special guest performers tonight as well, and what cannabis means to them.
Thank you.
Appreciate
And
you, brother.
thank you so much for
appreciate you guys.
your hard work.
Yes, and having
You
us
too.
here.
Absolutely. I'm so glad y'all were able to make it out here.
Yeah, it's so cool.